connected.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Create, all about crafting. For all of you who have watched and accompanied me during the last episodes, welcome back guys. So glad to meet you again, hope you all are well. And I hope that your temperatures are not as high as they are currently in Germany. We're suffering under a massive heat wave, so today's episode will be a little chilly and, you know, a little slower than usual. But that means we'll have plenty of time to talk in the chat about everything that you want to know and that maybe, you know, we didn't cover 100% in the last episodes. For all of you who are new to the stream, welcome. This stream is about cosplaying, crafting, and all about arts, may it be gaming related or fantasy related, everything that you can imagine, we will build it here. My name is Raven Miller. I'm a 30+ year old cosplayer, and I'm specialized actually in taking, you know, public figures or your favorite heroes and turn them into their lifelike, adorable child form, meaning crafting realistic cosplay baby dolls. So that being said, we are currently working here on Create on a very, very big and special project. And actually, it's the biggest project that I've ever done. And it was, you know, really a special thing for me to do this with you as the community together. And what we are doing here and what we have been through so far is crafting a life-size doll of Noctis Lucis Calum in his Platinum demo version. For all of you who know Final Fantasy 15, you will recognize him easily. He's the main character and this game was pretty cool, so it really caught my eye, and I've personally done a lot of cosplay stuff already with Aurea, with Noctis' mother, and little baby Noctis. So of course, yeah, there was always, you know, the question in my head how we can, you know, give this project a little kick further and improve. And yeah, finally we are here. What we did in the last episode was crafting from sketch the very raw model for our head. And this is a very special episode and I'm super excited because you've seen, even in this, you know, few time that we've spent together, how much work and effort has gone into every step. And I've literally crafted day and night over the past weeks to finally come this far in this short amount of time. Remember, I'm just a hobby crafter. I'm not a professional crafter, but we are of course trying to create an as realistic and beautiful looking Noctis as possible. So yeah, finally the result is here, and I have to move him very carefully, guys, because you will remember, for those of you who checked in the last episodes, that he's made of polymer clay, and this polymer clay has a certain softness. So especially in those high temperatures, and it's ridiculously hot in here, I'm sorry, the material gets warm, which means it loses shape easily. So let me be extra careful here and show him to you. And by the way, sorry, I'm reading the chats, but first of all, let me introduce you to the head and let me show him to you in all these amazing details, and then I'll check the chat, of course, and answer all your questions. And I'm really curious what you think of him so far. He has a skin structure. I've tried to come as close as possible to realistic, but yet anime design. As we have seen him, he's pretty heavy, so I have to be really careful moving him around. And if you have any suggestions, what you like to change, or if you're just happy with him in this form, let me know. And we can work on last details here live in the crafting session, and that's exactly what this stream is for. So let me check what you wrote to me. Yeah, of course I will wave in the camera. Hi everybody! It's nice that you're here, and I really appreciate it because yeah, right now in Germany I think everybody is you know, suffering from the temperatures as much as I'm doing here. Okay, yeah, maybe he looks like Donald Trump, but not for long. I promise you that he will look better, because this is just the first step that we are doing. What we are really going forward is actually a Hollywood quality movie doll. You guys remember all this, you know, scene from horror movies when you see those body parts and they're super realistic, or maybe the props from Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs, or even, you know, maybe Alien. They also had some really cool animatronics and also sculptures there. So this is actually what we are going for. By the way, I'm a German crafter. I'm not a native speaker. This chat is in English and all the stream is in English as well, in order to give all of you the opportunity to join this and learn together. So if I stumble sometimes over my tongue, please bear with me for a while. I'm sure we will, you know, get better over time. And today, you know, as I said, the temperatures, they're doing their part. But anyway, creating such a realistic prop is of course, you know, a project that requires many different steps. And as you see, we've come pretty close in creating something that, you know, at least looks like roughly a sleeping child. But of course, the skin color is not correct, and it looks pretty much like some piece of art that you put into, you know, somewhere in your living room and then forget about it. That's not what we are doing here. This is just the first step. What we will be actually doing is create out of this form a mold and then pour it in platinum silicone, which is the closest thing you can find to human flesh. And it's also exactly the same procedure that, you know, the top Hollywood producers use for creating all their cool props and horror and bloody parts for their movies. And you can of course also use it for something beautiful and not bloody. So that's exactly what we will be doing here. Okay, if you have any questions about what we did before, or if you have, you know, any ideas or suggestions, please, you know, put it into the chat. That's what the chat is here for. I will try to check it as much as possible. So, of course, molding and forming a mold is, you know, something that, at least in the first steps, I can't do live here on stream because the camera is very sensitive to dust, and I would be concerned then the equipment, which is, you know, valuable, would suffer from it. So I brought this with me today to show it to you guys, and I will also bring him with me again, hopefully, you know, very soon, when the first coats are set and when we can see the form. By the way, if you're doing this mold, it is a very, you know, stressful process for every crafter, because in most cases you have only one chance. This model that we have spent weeks to create will be destroyed in the process. We need to destroy it so we can get out a mold and duplicate it in silicone. So that's the sacrifice that we need to take in the next episodes. But before this is done, I really, you know, I got so attached to it. I really wanted to share this with you guys, and I'm so happy that, you know, some of you were really right from the start into this project and supported me, and are looking forward to see Noctis finished. So yeah, I really wanted to show him to you guys and check back with you, because your opinion as a community is very important and valuable to me. Whether, you know, you think we should do some slight changes, still in the features or if he should stay this way. The problem here is that we are trying to build a fusion between the anime look that Noctis often has, especially in, you know, the Brotherhood anime. It is a two-dimensional thing versus, you know, a realistic looking structure. You can see that a child still has some fat, you know, even if it's a petite child like Noctis, it still has some fat structures here at the cheeks. That is something that, you know, strongly determines the age of a person. If I take away too much of it, he will look pretty old, for example, and that's always the risk if you're so close right now that you do something too much and then you'll end up with a complete mess. Believe me, guys, I've been there before. I remember this. It's the most frustrating thing ever, and I'm sure many of you are crafters as well, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. So we need to be a little careful, not overdo our thing, because we still can, you know, do a little bit of shading with the paintings later on, but the rough sketches should be what you guys are also, you know, feeling, you know, comfortable with. So far there are no real complaints about Noctis, how he looks. And by the way, yeah, because some people mention it in the chat, this channel is closely related to gaming, but it's not exclusively for gaming. In fact, cosplayers, what they do is they portray their most favorite characters and bring them to life. That's our job. That's actually what I'm doing for a living, because I'm a professional cosplayer. And of course, many of the characters that I love and that I enjoy, they come from games. Final Fantasy 15, for example, Luna Freya, or whatever. I mean, there are so many characters that you can portray and that you can bring to life. And it just happened that I personally, you know, had the idea of taking it one step further by creating dolls to, you know, add in my cosplay work. So I'm doing basically the normal stuff that you know from cosplayers. I'm also doing stuff with my dolls in order to give some more depth. And if you wonder why you're watching TeamSpeak and you're watching you know, building a sculpture, that is because, you know, this is the main character of one of the most famous games, and certainly one of the games that I personally enjoyed very, very much. So for me, crafting this, it serves two purposes. First of all, I'm doing what I love. I express my love and my respect for a character that is very, you know, important to me or dear to me. I really like Noctis. I enjoyed playing him. And in you know, in Final Fantasy 15. And on the other hand, I can, with my work, with my sculpture work, I can add depth to some chapters that we've never seen before. Especially in Final Fantasy 15, we have seen Noctis in the Platinum demo version, and then we play him as an adult. We don't really know so much about the time he was really small and also the time where he was exactly at this age. And that is what I'm really burning for, what I want to take here to you guys. Because many of you enjoy the games and you keep them in your hearts and you remember them, but I don't know how you feel, but if just some people here, you know, enjoy as much as I am bringing some of those characters from different games and you know, our favorite movies or whatever to life, and bringing them from the screen and from a screenshot into the real world where you can touch it and interact with it and create content with it or prank people with it, whatever, then, you know, this is something that, you know, exactly serves the purpose of Create. And this is also something that is a matter of heart for me as a crafter. And of course, you know, many people who follow my work, they just see the final pictures and they've never seen all the steps that go into this project. So that's what I'm here for, in case you wonder. And it's Amy has put it in perfectly. no matter where you come from, if you're a crafter like myself, if you're a gamer, or if you're just someone slightly interested in gaming or fantasy or films, we're all connected. We're all connected by the love of those amazing games, films, animes, whatever, you name it. And this channel is also about, as our community grows, you know, it's all about creating content for you and with you together. So if we grow to a certain amount, we can easily make polls, guys. If you have a really cool villain that you always wanted to see, let's do it. I'm totally in for it. So that is also something that we will decide in the future. But, you know, that being said, back to Noctis. I hope you like him. And I'll put him away very carefully so that nothing can harm him. Okay. So far, I've just read your comments and I was making sure I'm not missing something important. So, what we are doing today, since the head is finished and we'll start molding very soon as the first steps are done and it's not, you know, as I said, any harm for our cameras, we'll continue with the feet. So, basically, some guys of you might remember them. I've brought them with me and I refined them during my first episodes. And yeah, actually something really interesting happened. Something that makes crafting so fascinating, and also something that I really like to share with you guys here. Because, yeah, as I said, as an artist, you, most of the time, you just present your perfect result. And people don't know the story behind it. They always think that everything goes smooth, that you know everything, that you know everything goes as you expect. That's not the case. We're all human beings. I'm a human being, so I had the very clever idea to get some casts here from a real child. And I did made some, you know, plans in my mind. Because this is formed out of alabaster. And as you know, I mean, you remember most probably the scene where Regis holds little Noctis in his arms. So when the boy is asleep and he has him over his shoulder, you can clearly see, you know, his legs and his arms right to the ankles. So that's basically what I still need to do. And as you see, we were just able to do yeah, a molding or a form of the foot. So I had the very clever idea that maybe I could use this polymer clay that I've used for the head to just mold the rest on it, and then we make a mold out of it. And then we have our leg, right? Yeah, turns out, guys, it's the first time for me working with all of those materials in this combination. So I've worked with alabaster before, and I've worked with clay before, and everything worked fine. And that's so typical for crafters. Now you want to put the 2 and 2 together and it doesn't add up in 4. Okay, so what we are doing now is the big question. And actually, my, you know, question to you guys, my wish, help me to find the right way to do it. Because as I said in the previous episodes, crafting is about finding ways. It's like playing a game. Of course, you have to master the level, but you can sometimes choose the right way or the left way, and you can, you know, depending on which different characters you choose, if you choose a magician or a fighter, your result and style and your strategy will be different in some games. It's exactly the same here. Depending on the materials that I use, my strategies and ways are different. And yeah, that being said, I have an idea, and I just thought that I'll explain to you my plan. And if someone here in my audience has a better idea to come up with, or just any useful idea, please write in the comments and we will think about it. And maybe, you know, you get that idea that brings us forward here and saves us some time, because the way that I see a solution, And the way that I choose, it will take us a little longer than expected. So normally I would just make a mold out of it and then pour it in silicone, and that's it, guys. We can't do this here because there's still so much stuff missing. So my basic idea was to make a mold of what I have right now. And then since this polymer clay gets liquid under hot temperatures, we will heaten this up, and instead of silicone, we will use polymer clay to fill in the mold. Because then after that, we will have basically the same material as the head. And then, of course, as polymer clay sticks to polymer clay, the idea is that I can then easily, you know, add more materials and craft my legs and arms, right? But after that, I have to make the same thing that I will do for the head anyway. So we'll have to repeat the same step twice, but it should work out somehow. So I would say I brought 2 feet with me today. I have 2 other ones in case something works not out the way we expect. And we will try it anyway today. Let's see how far we will come. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your ideas. And maybe someone here has a clever idea how we can fix this problem. Sure, I can craft something from Minecraft, Niptox, it's no problem. I can craft basically anything, so that's the fun aspect. So feel free to, you know, share your ideas and send us your sketches or whatever you wish to, and we'll definitely consider it for a future stream. That's exactly what the stream is about. Doing this together and communicating. This is not something where I craft and you look. I want you to learn. I want myself to learn. I want us to grow. So let's do this. Okay, that being said, since this is alabaster and we want to do a mold out of silicone, I will be using dragon skin, and I will use a form that dries and cures pretty fast to save up time. Problem is, before we can do this, if we put this on this, it will be a total mess because it will stick together and we will not be able to take it apart. So what we will do, and what I've already done here secretly before I entered the show, is preparing one foot with several layers of a consistency called Super Seal. Super Seal is a good tip for you guys that are working with sculpting. It's made for materials unlike the polymer clays that need, you know, some sealing before you can put any rubber or, you know, form materials on them. So what we will do is we will add some thin coats on my foot, and it's pretty simple. I just basically take my brush, I dip it into, and I'll start working. Just let me reactivate the chat again, guys, so I don't miss you. Yeah, perfect. Okay. As you can see, it changes the color and it will sink in, and it basically will close all the pores and make it easier for me to get it off. And by the way, for all of you who are, you know, interested in checking out what I'm doing in my free time when I'm not here crafting in the stream, or what I've done beside Noctis, you can check out my works on Facebook. It's called WhiteRaven Cosplay Dolls, and my Instagram is WhiteRaven Cosplay. So there you'll find my previous works and all the stuff that I usually do. I also have to say that what I really enjoy about doing these dolls is that it's so unique. It's really a niche. I love doing things different. you know, than other people. I like adding a little bit of, yeah, my own creativity in projects, and it has turned out to have such an amazing effect on my artworks that I really quickly fell in love with doll sculpting. But I would have never guessed so. 2 years ago I had no idea. I was just a normal cosplayer, and then it all evolved from one project, and I've been hooked ever since. And I really enjoy creating all those cool stories and storylines that you never see. For example, you can only use sorry guys, it's hot here. You cannot only use them for cute and boring family things. I've also done dark themes. I've done Final Fantasy VII with young Sephiroth and, you know, his stepfather or mental father, Hojo, the professor, how he raises him to a soldier. That's a topic that I did in cooperation with the amazing cosplayer Heezy Cosplay. He was so kind of portraying Hojo in all his amazing madness. And we created a really dark shooting line with it, telling the story of young Sephiroth and how he became the villain and madman that we all, you know, love so much. So the possibilities are really, really endless. Okay, so the first code is on, and it said, careful, okay, so first code is on, and it needs to cure 10 minutes. So let's see. In around 10 minutes we can do the next step, and I've set my timer for the last code because it needs to cure about an hour. And as I see, in exactly 2 minutes, we'll wait this 2 minutes. I like to do it accurately because I believe in chaos. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's it might not work out so well. So in 2 minutes we're ready to do the next step with all the layers that I've already done here. And if you know, touch it and compare it to the original, the surface is now really smooth and fine. And I mean, on the one hand, I'm really disappointed that it didn't turn out, you know, with combining both elements as easy as I thought. But on the other hand, having a form or a foot out of the modeling clay will allow me to, you know, even after pouring, change the forms and get over all those little details again and make everything perfect. So it saves me some stress here. I do not need to make my raw model so perfect. So at the very least, that's a positive note. That saves me some time. So in the end, maybe we're having the same timeline. Let's see. Okay, so we're here. I was just checking, double checking that I do not miss anything. And yeah, I think we already covered the question, but some of you guys that come from the TeamSpeak channels, they wondered what my format does on TeamSpeak. So basically, it's already, as already said in the chat, TeamSpeak offers, you know, a broad variety. It's about communication, and communication is what we are doing here. by sharing what we love and creating something truly unique and, you know, related to all of us, something that we can all connect to. So at least that's the main idea behind it. Hope you guys enjoy, and yeah, hope you take the chance and see it as something different and unique. And you know, sometimes it's really good to leave old path and try something new and see where it's going and form the format together. Because as a community, you guys can, you know, basically give me valuable input, and together we can decide in which direction you want this channel to go. If you want that we, you know, making weapons, then I can do weapons, of course, in the long term. And I don't know, I can introduce you to, you know, really other cool artists who do armors, weapons, all kinds of crazy stuff that you always like to see. That's all what TeamSpeak is all about here, and all the opportunities that we have. It all depends on you, what you like to see, and how we can build this channel to something that we all value and cherish. So that being said, this has now cured. And I'll set my timer again, sorry guys, so that I don't forget, and we can get a step further here as well on the second foot. That's important to me. Okay, let's set it for 8 minutes. I think that should be it. So actually, before we... Another step that we have to take, an important step that most people that work with silicones for the first time often forget, and I have done so. And yeah, you only do this once because it's a real mess. If you do not use some release spray, you will not get your silicone out and the form out of the silicone. It will stick. The same happens as would happen to the raw alabaster here. It just sticks. So silicone is in general a material that is not so easy to use. Once you get used to it, of course, it gets better, but it's not like a piece of paper and a scissor and you start working. You have to carefully think about the steps and the whole process and be sure not miss anything. So what we are doing here is just shake this well and use some release spray. Let it dry for, I think, a few seconds. And then finally, I can show you what molding is about. And basically you can use this for anything. If you're having something cool in your home that you want to duplicate, you can basically do the same thing that I'm doing, and you'll end up with a cool duplicate. And you do not have to pour it at the end in silicone. You can also pour it in plastic. Silicone forms have the high advantage that they are highly flexible. So it's really no problem, you know, using this for your personal projects. And even if you're a gamer, maybe once in a while you enjoy having your super cool looking unique gaming space, you can craft things from your favorite games or companies, logos or whatever, and yeah, or your own logo and name, and make this your unique place in your living room. Just an example, guys. So let's carefully do this. And it's important not to put too much on it, but still cover the edges. If you're dealing with forms like this, where you have this, you know, holes and structures like the toes, be careful that, you know, you cover everything and it does not, you know, leave any uncovered spaces. So let's try this here for a while. Let's see if it holds. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Hi Suzo, nice to see you in the chat. Thank you so much for, you know, joining me here despite the heat. And let's craft together. I just need some paper. Yeah. For my hands, because otherwise it gets sticky. Okay, so what you exactly mean with green and blue stuff, I'm slightly confused here. Boogie Pup. But if you want me to show something here, then please feel free to ask and I can give you a close look. Oh, that's really cool. We have a crafter here. Yeah, as I said, this is the very first project from Create. You know, it's not meant that don't feel pressured to reproduce and do exactly as I do here. For the first project, I wanted for this new channel to create something truly special, you know, not something simple, because that is what I've already seen, what you can find on, you know, when you search in Google or YouTube, you see all these amazing little crafting tutorials, and if you want them, of course we can do them later on. But for the first project, I really wanted to show you something unique and something, you know, that is essentially with the essence of my work. So, because I'm a crafter as well, and I'm the main host here, so it was really my vision, my passion to introduce you and letting you accompany me through a project that I would normally secretly craft at home. And I'm now bringing it out here and sharing my knowledge with you. So for all of those who are looking this for gaining tips, this is a perfect opportunity, but it's not a must. And if for the others of you who just enjoy the content, who love Final Fantasy, who love gaming related and nerdy and crafting stuff, it's also a good thing, you know, to chill while you're cooking or doing other things. So yeah, and this is just, as I said in the previous episode, every crafter of course has its preferences and his materials, and there is not one right way to do things. This is just the way I do it. If you have other input, you're welcome to share it here. And of course, since we will always be progressing also and hopping onto other projects after this project is finished, I'll be using different materials. And of course, if you guys would like to see a beginner-friendlier tutorial, we can also do this for sure in the future. I was just concerned, honestly, that if I'm doing a simple mini tutorial, that you guys are looking at it and like, okay, so what is she doing here? And why do we need a certain, you know, a special show for it? So this is something that is really unique and that is really on a higher level of crafting. So to show you just my skills and what I'm able to do. So hopefully you'll stick with me around and find with me together the right way of doing it and doing this project, and yeah, accompany me through this amazing journey, basically. Okay, because BBCap, she made an important note. She is molding with different materials, I see. And yeah, that is cool. If you want to share, please feel free to do so. That's amazing. I always love, you know, hearing about other crafters. I highly respect my crafting colleagues. I know that all the skills are very, you know, earned in the hard way of try and error, so you're all welcome and glad to have you here. Okay, she writes that green stuff is a room temperature hardening substance used as a space filling adhesive. Okay, that is really interesting, and yeah, that is really cool. Thank you for the tip. I'll definitely look into this and see how we can use this for another tutorial in the future. Thank you. That's awesome. But before I'm going too much into talking, I'm sure you guys want to see how we do this. This is a silicone called Dragon Skin. They are actually, for all of those who know nothing about crafting, there are two types of silicones that you can use. The one you use to make your mold from. You can of course also use different materials to make a mold from, but as I said, the advantage of a silicone mold is that it's kind of stretchy and flexible. And then of course we have some other type of silicone, the platinum silicone, for example, where we pour the final pieces in. So Okay, I think it's time for the second coat here before I go into this. Just thinking about what would be wiser. I think I'll do this coat later because I think you guys really want to see this. So let's do this. Okay, basically it's a 2-component material. It's stored in 2 different containers, part A and B, and you mix it in equal parts. Be careful that I do not cut myself. Sometimes in this heat I'm getting a little clumsy here. Oh, sorry! I can't see your gender, so I'm sorry, guy. I thought you were a girl. I'm really sorry. But that's awesome. If you're a male crafter, that's even more exciting, because I personally feel that there are more female crafters than male crafters, so that's awesome to have you here. Thank you. So, okay. In the meantime, let me clean my brush first, just to make sure that, you know, nothing sticks there that I do not want to. Okay. To be honest, the first coat, my tricks, my best trick for avoiding bubbles in the molding process. So for the pouring process, that's a different story. For the pouring process, of course, a vacuum chamber is highly recommended, but I know they're very expensive. But there are a little tips and tricks. I've also poured my first prototypes without any help and any machines, and I'll tell you in the later episodes about the pouring tricks. For the molding tricks, I use it. I think the most important thing is the very first layer, and I apply it very thin and very accurate, and I'll show you in a minute how I do this personally. And at least in my personal experience, as I said, maybe you know some better ways or other people know better ways, but it has worked very good for me so far. And to be honest, I'm not that much concerned about very small bubbles on the ongoing layers, because that's not where my silicone that I pour will touch. So the surface that my pouring substance will touch, that is what I'm concerned about when it comes to the topic of molding. So we'll have our container here, and as I said, the curing time should also be at least 8 minutes, so that's why I choose the fast stuff for us. And it's okay to, you know, just for our purposes here, this is just also serving as a first test, so to speak. And it's not a big form anyway. I recommend to keep it simple here, so do not worry. Yeah, shaking works, but also massaging. If you're crafting something, you know, like a humanoid figure, I always like massaging the fluid into the toes and the hands and everything, and making sure while pressing, you know, at first that it goes all into, and then I'm just, as you said, slightly shaking. But yeah, you said it, you already said it, silicone is a tricky thing to craft with, and sometimes it's not doing as we want to. That's the reason why many silicone crafters create very limited editions, and they also do not end up with a perfect pour every time. So right now I need to concentrate a little bit because we need equal parts of A and B. Let's do it. fine. And I'm adding a little silicone pigment into this, because normally it's clear colored, as you can see, and now I'm just slightly, gently mixing it. Careful not to get too many bubbles in. And now we come to the important question, what to do if you want to avoid bubbles. And that's what I'm showing you right here. I hope you can see this. I'm creating a little space for you guys. Okay, so awesome. We have to hurry because curing time is very short. I'm using a brush, and I'm using a kind of harder brush that you can see. So what I'm doing now, for the very first layer, I'm stippling. I'm applying a very thin layer and I'm basically stippling. And doing this will actually destroy most of the bubbles that I could create. And then after that is cured, I can easily, you know, put on other layers with a bigger brush and relax. And now I'm working my way up. I'll check back with your comments shortly, guys. Just making sure that I can apply it evenly and cover also all the details. This is important. Stippling also allows me to hopefully cover all those amazing details that we want to and hold, because details give our sculpt, no matter what you do, if you craft a car or a computer or a human, or it doesn't matter. It's the details that makes the difference. And it adds to the final design, so. Actually, I haven't used baby powder right now to remove it from the form. I use baby powder sometimes to give a matte finish to my silicone projects. But this is a good tip, and I'll definitely try this out the next time. I just found out that personally, for the pieces that I've poured so far, the mold release works really great. So actually, tell me how you do it. Do you apply the powder? How do you apply the powder to get it out of the mold? That would be something that is really interesting for me. How would you do that? Because that really sounds interesting. And that's why I love this stream. You know, different people coming together, sharing their experiences, and just enjoying each other's company and help and input. So let's see if I can still, yeah, get this there. No. That's live crafting, guys. It worked 10 minutes ago and now it doesn't work, but it doesn't matter because it's create, and create is being creative. So let's try to give this a hold somehow. Yeah, that should work. Okay. I'm just thinking about one step further while I stipple this on, because I want this to build a form. I'll show you what I mean in a second. And as you see, the silicone is getting pretty thick right now. Let me think of a solution how I can do this. Okay, perfect. Okay, this is just the first layer. And if you see any bubbles appearing here, that's the cool thing with the stippling technique. You can just easily avoid them and remove them. And of course, for different purposes, there are different silicones available. This is curing very fast. There is also medium or slow curing silicone available for this. Whatever you need, guys, you will find it. And it makes crafting so much easier because you can adjust the materials to your personal needs. So it doesn't matter. It's getting... Okay. So this is perfect. The first hold is... getting it to stand is the hardest part. So we will let this dry for now. And I'll clean my pencil carefully. Yeah, actually, the release liquid is available as a liquid that you can brush in, or it's available as a spray, and I think it cost me way under $10. So I think, yeah, it's of course much more expensive than baby powder, but if you're deciding to work with several projects, it's not a bad idea to consider buying it, because it's making many things so much easier. So, let's see. And because it's so hot, it's curing so ridiculously fast. This is... I'm actually a little bit skeptical, because I've never ever molded alabaster before, and although it says that it should work out and it's fine, I'm a bit skeptical. I don't know. But as I said, I have a spare pair of feet, so in case it doesn't work out with this kind of silicone, I have a spare pair to find the right solution until the next episode for sure. So I will not worry too much about it. But that's also something that is almost impossible to share on normal social network things, and that's a part that I really enjoy here, that I can show you all this, I don't know, Indiana Jones strategies, like let's go find it out and see later what happens. So because yeah, for some projects there are, you know, reviews available and there are tutorials available how to do things, and for some things that you just have to figure out your way on your own. So yeah, that's what it's all about for me. That's my passion. I really like to find a way to solve these crafting problems. Yes, actually, a good question. Yes, I do color every coat in a different color, because, and I also do it in the same way. My first coat, this is just a personal preference, guys. This is nothing set in stone, but I personally do my first layer in white, and then I go over to some yellows and reds, and then I have a certain, you know, a color range that I follow, so I can, you know, easily keep track on which coat layer I'm currently at. Because if I don't have the time and I have to lay it aside, and then 2 days later, because I'm working on another project in the meantime, then I come back and I wonder, oh my gosh, is this now the 4th layer? Is it the 2nd layer? And with this simple, you know, setting of colors per coat, I always have in mind how far I am with every project that I have. So I found this very handy. Oh yeah, I love vintage stuff. I really do. You got me here, definitely. Oh yeah, glowing in the dark stuff is also something that I really want to create here in a project in the future. So definitely this is something crazy and cool. So I have now done my best to clean this up. Which means that I'm ready for another layer of super seal. Because we need a second foot. Just one will not serve Noctis. So, okay. That's how I check. Yeah, should be fine. And actually never forget to shake this before using. I'm super excited about the next steps. This is always has some magic in it to, you know, pour this and color this. I'll take you to all those steps. We will build the molds together. We will color the silicone here with the airbrush. This will be amazing. And yeah, you can see step by step how a foam prop comes to life. Oh, and airbrush is an art by itself. This is... I've seen some airbrush artists, and there are even fairs in Germany, just for airbrusher artists. And this is... If you ever have the chance of visiting such a fair, do it. No matter what your interest is, they are super highly creative. They can airbrush you almost everything, and it's so cool and truly unique. And you can take something home that is, you know, a real piece of art. Ah, that's cool. You're also from Germany. Where are you from? Actually, I'm wondering. We're in Munich right now, by the way. So greetings from the south. Okay, so this coat has been finished and still needs some time to dry. Let's put it here. I hope you guys can still see this. If not, let me know. And of course, I will rearrange stuff so you have a better view. I'll set my timer again, of course, as always. And then we have the last coat, and then we can basically start here as well. From Kassel. I've been in Kassel before, but just once and very shortly. I was on a trip, so that's cool. By the way, do you have any online pages where I can see and follow your work? That would be awesome. Also, for the rest of you guys, if you like to show me what you've crafted or what your projects are, send me the links here in the chat and I'll check that. Definitely. And yeah, we can talk about it in the next stream. That would be cool. I'm always interested. I'm like a little child when it comes to art. I'm always interested in what other people are doing, and I'm always fascinated by the work other people put into their own projects. So yeah, definitely. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. And actually, I think that I even owned some He-Man figures at home as a child, because my little brother, he got some as a birthday present. I think we had this green tiger. I don't know. I never, you know, regularly watched it, so I just remember slightly, but I think I remember that there was a green tiger involved somehow with He-Man. Okay, so I'll just test the silicone has cured, and it hasn't. So, but as you can see, it's already pretty much cured, and that's the bubbles we're talking about. Actually, this is what you do not want on your final piece of silicone, because it doesn't look very good. So preventing bubbles is one of the most important and most hated steps in all the silicone curing, by the way. So many times if you have build a mold and you're putting out your first piece and you're so proud, the first piece out of the mold, don't ask me why, in most of the times it doesn't come out perfect. There are a lot of air bubbles trapped there somehow, and then it gets better with the second and third. So yeah, it's definitely something where you know, are yeah, highly advised to have some patience, but it's a really fascinating form of art, because out of one mold I can make 10 duplicates. If I craft now a baby avatar, I can pour 10 baby avatars or whatever. If I need a prop for my armor that I want to be flexible, for example for my armor parts, if you have a gaming character and he's a really cool design and you want to combine a hard armor with some flexible, you know, silicone forms, you can do this for your whole troops. If you have 2 or 3 friends who also want to cosplay the same trooper cosplays or whatever, you can easily duplicate it. And that's a highly, you know, interesting thing for me personally. Because in many steps in cosplaying, when you're trying to recreate your favorite character, you're doing all by hand, all on your own, and there are rarely any steps possible where you can easily duplicate things. So molding and casting is something that really caught my eye. Yeah, shaky hands are a problem, and as I said, it's pretty hot here and I'm taking some fluids. Without enough water, it's definitely not recommended crafting at a high temperature, and I think it's certainly over 30 degrees in here, so I'm melting away, but I'm suffering for you guys and you're suffering with me here, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying here with me together. Let's see how far we've come. We have 5 minutes to go on this one, and maybe, oh yeah, that looks good. It's sometimes hard to see. An interesting fact for all of those who haven't never crafted before: if silicone cures, it's still shiny, so you can't really see on the appearance alone whether it has cured or not. You have to test very carefully. But basically, after this is done, you can just add another layer on it, and then you'll be fine to go. Yeah, silicone doesn't like it too hot, I know. And thanks for the Warhammer workshop community. That's a great tip. So anyone who is watching or rewatching it right now, this is definitely a very valuable tip to have some resources to check back. Because everybody is doing it different, and that's also what is really interesting. If I invent over here 5 armor crafters, you will not find that one is doing exactly the same as the other. There are so many ways of crafting the same piece of armor. For example, Iron Man. You can build an Iron Man suit in I don't know how many ways. And if you would invite 5 Iron Mans here, or Iron Man suit crafters, I'm pretty sure they would all have their unique ways and individual steps that they take and different materials that they use. So all of this is communication. All of this is TeamSpeak, and all of this is Create. And I'm really looking forward, by the way, inviting those interesting other persons over here for live chat, so you can see what other persons are doing and discover with me together the whole universe of crafting. It's in all its aspects. So really looking forward to that. Okay, that looks good so far. So far, so good. Yeah. And this has cured. So we can remove it. Ah, that's the cool thing about silicone. Look at this, guys. When it is cured, it's not completely cured, so it's still a little sticky, but basically you can clean your cups so easily. Yeah, and these are leftovers, and silicone is expensive, so try to not waste so much, and try to, you know, be a little careful how much you take. With the first coat, it's always hard for me to decide how much I'll need, and I'm more the person, I'm rather on the safe side than having to mix a color all over again. When I'm doing a mold like here, it totally doesn't matter. If I'm running out of color, it doesn't matter if it has another color. But if you're pouring and you're ending up with too little of your mixture, you have to do a new mixture, and these colors can vary, and you can see it in the final piece, and you want your piece to be flawless. So yeah, when it comes to making the final mold, I'm better safe than sorry, but for now I'm trying to go with little less than last time, just because it's really expensive and I do not want to waste anything. That would be a shame. Okay, so I think we're using flesh tone. As always, stir well, but avoid, you know, getting too many bubbles in. You can see that I'm not wildly, you know, mixing it, but carefully. I'm trying to avoid bringing too much bubbles in. So, we've talked about that before. Okay, and now it's really simple. Since I have, you know, covered my most important surface and you know, saved all the details, I can now really enjoy putting this on, and also in a thicker layer. That's now safe to do. Okay. So this coat is also ready, but we'll first finish the silicone because it cures so fast. I don't waste any materials. And as you can see between the toes, I'm trying to fill up the spaces slowly by adding some more material here, so it will protect the form. You have to build up a stable form, not too thick, not too thin. It should be flexible and stretchy, but it should still be, you know, strong enough to not, you know, rip apart when you're trying to get your first piece out of it, because you want it to hold at least for 10 or hopefully more curing and pouring steps. You want to do duplicates. And the whole reason of putting so much effort into all of this is not only to have your own design, but also being able to reproduce it in a fairly easy and, you know, a manageable way. Without any big company behind you, without any minimum order, just you as the crafter, as the artist, and, you know, as many as you want. By the way, there are people actually making a living on... Okay, I put silicone on it. Okay, let's see. See? Pour this off. It's not a problem. Just getting it off. Okay. By the way, there are people actually making a living on making molds from sculpts from other artists, and they are really expensive. So yeah, that's not affordable for most artists anyway, I'm afraid. So it's something that you can learn and use for yourself if you're not, you know, prepared for bigger investments. On the other hand, those professional artists can offer you molds that hold for a longer time, so it's definitely worth checking out if you have something that is really dear to you and that you want to duplicate over years. And if it runs down, it's not a problem at all. We're not concerned about that, that's totally fine. We just want to apply our layer and make sure we are having everything, we have everything covered. So, okay, let's remove the paper for now. Okay, so as you see, guys, this is quite a sticky situation sometimes with silicone. And it's just a rough try anyway. I will definitely use a kind of underground for my next feet and hands in order to give them better support. I'll show you this in the next episode. I'm currently crafting them at home, or not sure whether maybe I use something that I have at home. Haven't made my mind up yet, but for now, for the first try, for prototype test, it's fine. Oh yeah, that's a good thing that you covered, a good topic and an important topic that you covered. When, for all of you guys, whenever, it doesn't matter if you know, want to do this on your own or you're having friends that are working on molding and reproducing, whenever you reproduce something, never, ever, and literally never, ever, this is important, duplicate something you do not own the copyright of, because this will get you in legal trouble. You can't, you know, reproduce an action figure that somebody else, you know, crafted, and you can't, you know, take another person's sculpts without their permission and do a mold from this. This is legally, this is art theft. It's illegal, and it will bring you in great trouble, and it will also name and shame you in the artist community, because artists, they tend to really hold together. Because as you see, I crafted Noctis from myself just out of this mass, polymer clay and aluminium foil, and I put so much effort and hard work into it, and I cannot imagine how a master artist who has put years and decades in doing what I do, even, you know, on another epic level, what he has invested in money, in time, in everything to create his arts, and then, you know, just stealing that, it doesn't do you good, and it doesn't yeah, it's definitely a good way of getting bankrupt, because you definitely will be sued. And yeah, it's not a good thing to do. So please be nice and fair. And if you are molding and using this technique, do it only for pieces that you crafted yourself. I own the copyright on everything that I mold here, because I literally proved during the stream, during the past episodes, that I crafted this by myself and nobody else laid his fingers on him. I did this all by myself, so it's my copyright and I have every right to reproduce it. With the foot, I got the friendly permission of a very good cosplay friend and her 5-year-old son to use his hands and feet, but I still need to modify them, so having their permission and doing my own craft with them together gives me the right to reproduce them. And I want you to be safe, and I want you to be sensitive about this. If you're a crafter or active in the crafting scene, please look out for stolen arts and report this. It's so important to hold together, and you know, because otherwise it's actually not contributing of giving other artists a chance to survive. Because yeah, art theft is something really serious. So thank you for you know, this really important topic. Yeah, you're exactly right. Some of those figures are worth an immense amount of money. I mean, if I would sell Noctis like this, even as a partial silicone kit, he would be a few $1,000s for sure, because there's so much work into it, and as an artist you also have to make a living. I have to make a living. If I can't, you know, if I craft 8 or 10 hours a day, I cannot go for another job to do this. So I need my money to pay my bills, to pay my rents. It's the same for every artist. I'm just taking myself as an example. But you can compare this to any artist who's making a living with his art. And I remember well that the full body silicone babies, the ones that you see in films for action scenes, for example, I don't know, so transporter-like films, of course you don't use a real baby when everything explodes around you. So what they do is they hire a crafter, he crafts a lifelike, a full body silicone baby so that the actor can move around and jump and nothing happens to the child. And yeah, it was also used, by the way, I figured it was also used in the latest comedy or horror film with Nicolas Cage, you know, where there's a virus and the parents, they get aggressive and want to kill their own children. There is a scene where a woman gives birth to her child and then she wants to kill it right away when it, you know, came into this world, and everything, the whole hospital staff was totally shocked and trying to get the woman away from her baby. So that baby was a silicone doll, by the way. And those dolls, believe it or not, they are worth at least $3,000, $3,000 at the minimum. And this is just something that is, you know, a poor prototype, 1 of 10. It is out of a little collection. If you're doing a customized offer for artists, it can go up for 10K or more for silicone sculpts. It's ridiculous, guys, because there is, with a good artist, so much money and knowledge involved. So even the small figures that Boogie Pap mentioned, they are worth $2,000, rare ones, so it's not a good idea to copy them. Please be safe and be fair. And I personally believe in karma. If you give good to other people and you give them a chance, then good things will eventually come back to you. And this has always, in the last 10 years since I've started cosplay, get me further and brought me to places I've never imagined, and brought me in contact with amazing people I never thought would even consider talking with me or supporting me. Even, you know, alone having a chat with me, and then suddenly they're giving you tips and supporting you. Because if people realize that you're honest with them and that you're doing your best and that you're trying to go the fair way, they will respect you no matter what. So this is something that I can highly recommend in the crafting scene. It has worked great for me so far. Okay, so I think we're ready for the last code. And then the exciting stuff will happen, hopefully next week and the week after, when the temps have dropped down a little. And yeah, I think most people of you will rewatch this episode anyway, because they are now on holiday mode. So that's no problem at all. Okay, and since this show will slowly approaching its end, when I finish this coat, the last coat will have to dry at least 1 hour. So I will leave it overnight and then work on, of course, the second form at home, so we can speed up the process and I can show you the really interesting stuff, guys. You see, I'm doing my best and trying really hard to, you know, speeding up this huge and immense project as fast as possible, so that we come to the interesting steps and you can take home as much as possible from it. May it be entertaining and just enjoying, or even, you know, learning and giving your own ideas back to the community for others to enjoy and learn in the chat. Alright guys, so this has been completely coated. This has his second coat of silicone right now. I'll definitely finish those 2 feet for you, as I promised, for the next episode. We see each other again on Wednesday when I show you how we pour in the silicone, and maybe, depending on how everything goes, I may have the one or other surprise for you. Thank you so very much for all of you for, you know, supporting this channel and staying with me and accompanying me on the amazing journey on crafting a life-size Noctis Lucis Calum. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. See each other next Wednesday, as always, 4 p.m. Central European Time. Huge thanks to TeamSpeak and all your base for making this possible and giving you exclusive insights on behind the scenes of such an amazing and long-term crafting project. Thank you, bye guys, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.